Good evening. My name is Augusta Bradley. I currently attend Grand Canyon University. And the purpose for this video is to go over a handout that I created that could be used as a resource for first grade teachers. And the three components of literacy that I chose for this particular assignment is phonics, comprehension, and fluency. And I first want to touch on why it's important that teachers share resources and collaborate, because we actually help one another, and there might be something that I might not know or something that another teacher might not know that can help every student in the classroom. And every resource is used to help build our students to where they need to be. And this is exactly what this handout will be used for. The first component that I want to talk about is phonics. And one activity I would use will be letter labels. Is where there will be pictures up around the room, and I would go ahead and write a letter on a sticky note for each student. And the student is to look at that. We're focusing on the first letter of the word. So, for example, if they have the letter P and one of my pictures is of a pillow, then they would need to place that sticky note on that picture of the pillow. The second activity would be letter swap. I would write a word on the board. For example, cat. I would wipe away the letter C, and then they would replace the letter, like if they put P, then it would become Pat. So we would, do those activities as well. And the state standard that I used that goes along with both activities is LF17. The academic language that I would use would be encode, decode, phonemes. And some of the collaborative opportunities include me simply doing the activities during whole group time, like removing and adding the different letters of words, and also displaying pictures on a slideshow and showing words that are associated with the pictures. The extended learning activity would consist of me giving out a worksheet where they are to word sort, and they will be given a set of words. Some of the words will have similarities, and they are to group those words that has those similarities. And the technology that I would use a digital activity called CVC Word Builders, where they are to look at a picture and they are to put those words together to form that word that goes with that particular picture. Next, we have comprehension. And two of the comprehension activities that I chose was visualization and asking questions about the story using popsicle sticks. So with visualization, I would show my students the title of a book, and then I would ask them to draw a picture explaining what they think, this story is going to be about by simply just looking at the title. And then with the popsicle sticks, I would simply look at the story. I would create questions from the story, and I will write them on construction paper, cut it up, glue it to the popsicle sticks. And this can be done before you read, during, while you're reading, and after you read. So I would simply be reading. Let's just say if I decided to do this activity while I was reading, then I would read, then I would hold up a question, using a popsicle stick, and I would pick on a student to answer the question. And then the state standards for both of my activities, LF117 and LF122. And some of the language that I would use would be visualization, illustration, main idea, details, and elements of a story. The collaborative opportunities would be simply discussing the main idea and details of a story. Also, we can view and discuss an anchor chart that shows the story elements, and we would, go over those together. And with both of the activities that I've already mentioned, we could also incorporate this into the social studies passages as well. And with the extended learning activity, I would simply ask them to write their own ending to the story and explain why they chose to write that particular ending. And next we have fluency. Fluency, I would incorporate an echo game where I would pick a grade level book and I would read a sentence or a phrase aloud. And then I would get my students to read it aloud as well to see if they can match exactly how I read the text. And I would also do an activity where I would break up a poem or break up a sentence, and I would write it like on index cards or on construction paper, and my students would have to put the words together to form the sentence for fluency. And the state standard for that is LF19. Some of the academic language that I would use would be sentence, rate, tone, expression, accuracy, and meaning. And then some of the collaborative opportunities, we would simply read sentences together in unison, or we could listen to a read aloud together. We can talk about how the person read the story. How did they pause? What tone did they use when they said this particular word or this particular phrase? So we would talk about those things. And this could also be incorporated in while we're reading social studies passages as well. The extended learning activity, I would allow my students to do paired reading, where they would, read a sentence, another student would read a sentence, or they could read a whole page. They would take turns reading. And the technology that I would incorporate into this particular activity, I would allow my students to record themselves and listen to how they read. With the comprehension, with that technology, I would allow them to use the text-to-speech app on the computer or either the Chromebook. And I also left out how I would incorporate phonics into a different content area, and I would simply turn it into whenever I'm teaching science, we would talk about those different animals, and then I can also incorporate those phonics activities while we're talking about animals when we're dealing with science as well. Well, I hope this was enough as far as going over everything I needed to go over on the handout. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.